Hey everyone, this is John from Models by John Michael. If y'all could go ahead and please subscribe to my YouTube channel, that would be great. Be sure to hit that notification bell, that way you don't miss out on anything. And also check out what I've got posted over on Instagram and Facebook. So in this video, I want to do a completed build review for a kit that I've been working on for the past several months. And I've done a couple other videos on it, but this is the kit here. It's the F4F Wildcat by Tamiya. It's a 1/48 scale kit. I did another video on this earlier this year talking about how to choose a model kit based on your skill level. And this is one of the kits that I featured in that, saying that this was a good, entry level, rudimentary type kit to get into, as far as building World War II aircraft. I still stand by that, but there are a couple of things that I want to point out to you before I show you the model. First and foremost, the landing gear. Now, I was warned about this before I got to the landing gear. The landing gear does require some patience because of the way that it's put together. It's not impossible to do, but just be aware it does take time and it does take patience to get it right. If you try and rush it, you're going to break something because the pieces aren't the most sturdy, they're not the largest. So things can go wrong there, but it can be done. If you want to do wheels up on this, it would require some modifications to the pieces, and just because of the way this kit is, I don't know that I would necessarily recommend doing wheels up to a newer modeler. But if you're more experienced, or if you just want to try it out, go for it. But just be warned that this kit does not come with the wheels up option. The other thing I want to talk about is decals. I have used Tamiya decals for a long time, ever since I discovered Tamiya. And I never had a problem with the decals settling onto a model kit until this one. And I don't know why, but it was a pain in the butt. And I ended up using decals from other kits because I don't throw away my decals. I hold on to all of them. So I dug through my stash, found some other decals, and I used those in place of the ones that came with the kit. Now, some of the decals on this kit are stock, and I will show you which ones are stock. I'll show you which ones that I grabbed off of another kit. So without further ado, let me show you the model. And I just completed her. Actually, I just put the finishing touches on it today. Here, so I went for the Dirty Bird look, the old worn-torn, weary warbird look. When I initially started this kit, I was going to do the, chipped effect and stuff like that. I wasn't liking where it was going and how it was turning out, so I just opted to repaint, reprime, repaint, and then go for the, war-torn Dirty Bird type look. So, and this is how she turned out. So the streaking here for the guns, and then for the exhaust ports down here, and the ejection ports rather down here, I used this here. It's the Vallejo game color, black, and this stuff is very nice. Shoots very well out of a airbrush. I just thin it down with a little bit of the X20A thinner from Tamiya. Works great, no problems at all. And it gives you that really nice smoke effect on your model kit, or for exhaust. You can use it for all kinds of different things. But it's very, very nice, and it beats, in my humble opinion, it beats trying to do it by hand or by using like the AK weathering pencils or something like that to do it. You can achieve a similar effect, but it's really tough to achieve that smoke trail look on there. You know, and then underneath here. It's really hard to do that. Now for the exhaust coming down the body of the plane, I did a mixture. So first I shot just straight black on there, and then I went and I mixed a little bit of the sepia with the black and then shot over it. And if you look closely, you can see a little bit, it's kind of like a brownish, blackish underneath there. So yeah, and then for the whole plane, I did a wash, and I just used the Flores weathering wash for that. And then on the wings, you see these dirt, you know, this dirt spots, right? So that's where the crew would walk or something like that on the aircraft. I used the same stuff. I just used that and just kind of layered it on there kind of thick, so you get that, you know, effect on the wings. So all I did some pre-shading. So the pre-shading, I used the Tamiya, what is it called? Light blue. Let me look. I can show you real quick. Medium blue. So I did Tamiya medium blue, and then I did a little bit of gray, like a medium gray, and then I went over that with the the primary color, and so you get some variation of color underneath the paint, which is kind of nice. And then I also went along the panel lines and kind of highlighted those a little bit. And then underneath, so interesting thing is about the Wildcat is that the bottom is not just straight white. It's actually what they call Grumman gray. So it's a mixture, at least for the Tamiya, a mixture of white and medium gray or light gray, one of the two. Anyway, you could look in the manual; it'll tell you. Anyway, it's a mixture of the two, and actually that's their primer color as well that Grumman used, was the Grumman gray. So the bottom is essentially just a primer color. So I did some grays, I did some whites underneath here to kind of give it a little bit of a, you know, different visual effect on the bottom. Let's see here. What else did I do to this thing? And then in the inside, so the cockpit in this thing is not very detailed. It doesn't come with seat belts either in, you know, decal type seat belts or any kind of photo etch seat belts or anything like that. I suppose you could get photo etch seat belts for it, but what I did is I took some wax paper, or not wax paper, parchment paper, like you use in the kitchen, and I cut strips of it, and then I stained it with the Flores sand color, I think. Yeah, I stained it with this to kind of give the seatbelt kind of a khaki color. And then I took some wire and I bent them to make them look like little buckles. Not the greatest job as far as like that effect. There are materials that are much better. You can get a much more precise look to it, but I figured for this kit, it works well enough. But in the pictures leading into the video, you'll see inside the cockpit there. At least, you know, I could get some. I got as decent pictures as I could in there, so that you guys at least get an idea of what it looks like. Oh, then the decals. So let me show you the decals real quick. So decals that are from this kit are, so on the top of the wings, the roundels here and here, and then on the tail, the stripes on the tail, and then the numbers on the plane, so the 8s, and then the 41 F8. Those are original to the kit. And then you have your identifiers here. And then everything else is aftermarket or from a different kit altogether. So the larger roundels on the sides of the fuselage. The roundels down here are from a different kit. And of course, these roundels laid down much better than these up here. I don't know how many rounds of um, the Microsol, Microset, the Walthers decal setting solution, Tamiya Mark Fit. I put everything on there, and they still weren't going down the way that they should have. But it was a fight. I finally did get them. And then the other thing too, so on here, you'll notice, and I'm sure some of you guys who are World War II aircraft experts, you're probably looking at this emblem right here and saying that is not for an F4F Wildcat. That is true. Actually, this emblem was off of a what do you call it? SPD Dauntless. Is what those emblems are for. But the stock emblems that came with this kit weren't settling in correctly by any stretch of the imagination. I tried for 2 days to try and get those things to set on there, and they kept bubbling up, kept looking very strange. I mean, they looked like decals. They didn't look like they were painted onto the aircraft. So I ended up scraping them off, and then in place, right where the other decals were, I put these on there, and they sat in beautifully. They worked, and even though it's not a F4F Wildcat squadron, I still think it looks pretty darn good. So that's why those are on there. And then, of course, I added in the Japanese war flags for the kills on this aircraft. So yeah, that's how we got to where we are with these decals. On the guns, you'll notice these little white pieces of tape. Actually, what that is just straight up printer paper. That's all it is. And I cut them in tiny little strips like that, and then just glued them on with canopy glue, and that's to cover the guns. Now, you might be wondering why that's on there. So if you look at some pictures of World War II aircraft, you'll see something like this over where the guns are, right? The reason why that they did that was, number one, to keep out moisture and salt and sea salt and stuff like that out of the barrels, and also to keep foreign objects out of the barrels. The other reason why they did it is to signify to the ground or to the crews on the aircraft carrier that the guns had been serviced and they had been cleaned. And that was a quick, easy way to look at all aircraft and say, okay, those ones have been serviced and cleaned and they're ready to go. So yeah, I just thought that was kind of a unique little touch to put on there. I haven't seen very many models with that look on there, putting the simulating the tape. So I thought that was kind of a cool little thing to do. And then the antennas. So on the back, this is all easy line. You can see it well enough against my hand. It's all easy line. So here, got one coming off the tail to the antenna. Got one going to the side of the fuselage here, and you got one coming off of each horizontal stabilizer. So going to the body. So just thought that was kind of a cool little thing to do. At first, I was just going to do the line going from the antenna to the tail, and then the one to the side of the body. But then I started looking at other pictures, and I started finding that they did have these wires that went from the tail to the body on either side. So figured that was kind of a cool little thing to do. Add another element of realism to it. Overall, I would give, without the decals, okay, this is mind you, without the decals, I would give this kit, I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. With the decals, probably talking like a 5 out of 10, just because the decals cause fits. If you do decide to build one of these kits from Tamiya, my advice to you would be to get a different set of decals. Just don't even bother with the stock Tamiya ones, because they're going to give you all kinds of issues and fits and everything else. I mean, and I did the gloss coat on this to give it the best, give the decals the best chance of settling in. Didn't happen. The other issue, and this is, I don't know if it's just me or other people have had a similar issue. So you'll notice the IFF lights, right? I did not paint them. And there should be 3. There's only 2 because the third one back here ended up getting sanded off because I had a heck of a ghost seam here, and I was trying to get it, and I still don't have it quite gone, but I just decided not to even paint the IFF lights, and I wasn't going to sand the other ones off, so I just kind of left them as they are, said screw it, and left it. So my advice to you would be to be careful in that area when you're sanding it. Hey guys, pardon the interruption here, but when I was recording this video previously, I lost audio partway through, so I'm having to redo this a little bit, so that's why I'm wearing a different hoodie. Time of day is a little different than before, so I'll just kind of pick up from where I left off. I apologize ahead of time if I repeat some of my points from the previous video, but we'll get through it. So anyway, when the audio cut out, I was talking about the IFF lights. There are details along the seams like with any other model kit. So just with that one, you just want to be aware that you don't, you could lose detail there. I have seen other models, and I don't know if it's this specific kit, to where people have just sanded off the IFF lights totally and just left them, left them alone. So, yeah. So, and I just kind of, decided not to go along with that. You see right here, you see the red nav light. And then on this side, you got the blue nav light. A lot of people think that's green. Actually, in this aircraft, in this case anyway, it's actually blue. And then on the top here, got a couple of the running lights, which are white. So a lot of times what I will do when it comes to nav lights is I will paint underneath where I'm putting the clear color. I'll paint it white to make it look like it's on or running. Yeah, there you go. There's a little bit better angle there. So in this case, I just painted it silver, so it makes the clear coat look a little darker, or the clear paint look a little darker than if it was white underneath there, which would give it a much brighter hue. So it's a good way to paint your lights, make them look like they're still there, but not powered up or not running. So I did, was it the Tamiya flat aluminum, and then I did the Tamiya flat colors, or not flat colors, clear colors, which are they're not they're gloss, not flat, to give that little effect. So just a little tip for you. If that's something you feel like you want to do. One other thing I do want to talk about real quickly is the Easy Line. So I know in the previous video, or earlier in this video, I talked about the Easy Line a little bit, but so one of the nice things about Easy Line is as I've demonstrated before, this stuff is very, very, very flexible. I mean, it's got a lot of give before it'll break, which is good, because if you're handling the model and you accidentally hit one of the lines, you're not going to break it. I know there are some guys that'll actually take model sprue and they'll actually melt part of it and then stretch it out to get that nice fine line. I've never attempted that, but it does work, from what I understand, quite well for doing an antenna line or rigging like on World War I aircraft, stuff like that. But my go-to is the Easy Line, because you can't break it. It's hard to screw up. The only thing is you need super glue, CA glue, something like that, in order to get it to stick. But it does stick to itself as well. So like right here, I'm trying to get a good angle. Right there, okay, so you can kind of see it on the back with the wing in the background there. This line is coming off of the antenna and going down to the side of the fuselage over here. So you can actually put a little, all I did was put a little tiny bead of super glue right there and then just run it down. So that is a nice thing that you can do, is you can create that intersection of antenna wires in order to get it to go down off of the main wire. So pretty easy to do. Just the main thing, if you've never tried Easy Line, it requires patience, like just about 99.9% of this hobby. But if you take your time with it, it turns out extremely well. Oh, another thing too I wanted to bring up was photo etch parts. Now, I don't have any photo etch parts on this kit. I didn't do anything aftermarket, but just a quick little point about them. A lot of times people will recommend using super glue for photo etch parts, which does work, by the way. But if you're using a photo etch part that might be difficult to maneuver into position, so like when I was building that the OS2U Osprey, right? Or not Osprey, Kingfisher. Okay, the Kingfisher had a inside of the cockpit, the deck and the cockpit, right? I had a photo etch part for that, so I had to sand off all the detail and then place this rather large photo etch part, because this was a 1/32 scale kit. So, you're talking, I don't know, 4 inches, 3 or 4 inches long, and I don't know how wide it was, but this part was quite large, and using super glue to get this thing into position was going to be very tough, because the setting time for super glue isn't very long. But the nice thing was, so I knew that I actually learned about this trick by talking to a guy who actually builds model cars, and he'd worked with photo etch parts quite a bit. So, and that was one of the things that he recommended to me, was using canopy glue, Elmer's glue, something like that for photo etch parts. So I did that with that deck, and it worked out beautifully. I had no problems, because maneuvering it to where the holes would line up properly and the detail would line up properly where it was supposed to be would have been, for lack of a better term, a nightmare had I used the super glue method. So that's something to be aware of too. I did an episode about glue, and you can scroll down in the comment section, or not in the comment section, the video section, and you'll find it down there. But so it's something to be just aware of, is that all glue is not suitable for all situations. Another thing, and this is something that I know has been out for a while, but for Tamiya, so Tamiya extra thin, which is my go-to glue, right? I love this stuff. However, it is, I've found recently on the internet, and I've seen videos where it's been demonstrated, to where the Tamiya brush cleaning solution works just as well as a glue. So I may try that in the future when I run out of this stuff, but as you can, I don't know if you can see, I have a lot in that bottle, and these bottles last me for a very, very long time, because the brush cleaning solution is only 1 or 2 ingredients different than this stuff, and it's been demonstrated many times that the brush cleaning solution works. I would not use this as a brush cleaning solution. I wouldn't want it to try and gum up my airbrush. But that being said, something to think about. Do your own research. Please do not take my word for it. Get out there, do your research, talk to some other folks about it, and then figure out if doing the Tamiya brush cleaning solution will work for you. So anyway, guys, that's all I have for this video. Y'all take care. Thank you so much for watching. Happy modeling.